Hello, welcome to one and all watching this mega preview of the T20 World Cup. When I mentioned the World Cup, it's almost a novelty factor when we were growing up. But right now, especially with the T20, it's honestly a joke. It's been played so often. This is the third World Cup in 4 years. Yes, you've heard me right. And we're going to be previewing it for you. Today, we start with Group D. We're going to go backward in this case, not like cricket.com, but we'll get on with it. Anyway, my name's Avnish Hegde in the comfort of my resort from Thailand, joining these lads who are going to be breaking down Nepal, Netherlands, Sri Lanka, South Africa, and of course, yep, you guessed it, Bangladesh as well. Pramod Anand, good to see you. Jeet is back with us after the IPL and Akshay Kumarswamy as well. Pramod, I'll start with you. How excited are you from an associate nations perspective that the World Cup is starting in about a week's time or less than that?
Yeah, absolutely. Very excited. First time as many as 9 associates in the World Cup. So I'm really looking forward to watching them, and I'm confident at least that at least one of them will make it to the Super 8s, if not more.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I think there are going to be some upsets, cup sets as we like to call them. Hi to Vishal. Hi to everyone joining us right now in this live show. We're going to be doing 3 more live shows like this tomorrow, day after, and the day after that as well. Jeet, I'll come to you because, of course, we're going to be talking about some minnows, dare I say. But are you confident of this being potentially the group of death?
It is actually a group of death. So on the face of it, it may not look like a group of death when you look at the teams. But hey, we all know what the Netherlands have done in the past and what Nepal is capable of as well. So I wouldn't rule these teams out yet.
Okay, interesting. And Akshay, with all the IPL hullabaloo coming to an end and KKR deservedly winning, how's everything with you and how's the World Cup build-up been in your head at least?
To be honest, couldn't care lesser. But the only silver lining is the fact that, like Pramod mentioned, this is the most open World Cup. Like, this is the first time we're seeing 20 teams take part in a T20 World Cup. So that's the only thing I'm looking forward to. So the likes of Nepal, Netherlands, them causing an upset or two is something that, I mean, just the thought of it is very, very, very tempting. I've always been a sucker for underdog, something that people would have seen during the IPL as well. So fingers crossed, we do get to see a few upsets. And some of the lesser known teams sort of proving key boss. We're here to stay, and this is a format we can definitely rule it. So, yeah. Wonderful. Clearly, Thailand's taken a toll on Avnish. Good
Shit.
job.
Already it's got off to like a little shaky start, but it's not going to be anything shaky about this preview because I'll tell you for starters what we're going to do in terms of World Cup content this summer because it's going to be fantastic. We've got the watch-alongs covered. We're doing 13 all in all, and it's going to be everyday watch along from the Super 8s onwards, and of course the India games and the group stages as well. We're also going to be doing a midday show, so to speak, every World Cup group stage day, and that's going to be fun with the boys. Join Akshay for that and a range of panelists. So we'll keep you locked every day in cricket.com, and not to forget plenty of other cool, shorter stuff to be digested on our platform. So what are you waiting for? Subscribe to the channel, and of course tell a friend about cricket.com because as a matter of fact, we're about less than 100 from reaching 85K, and we've reached a great milestone throughout the IPL. So props to once again all of you guys who've made this community grow and grow. Right, speaking of grow and grow, we want to talk about one particular team for starters because I'm going Dutch tonight, boys. Don't ask me with whom, but pardon the pun, Pramod, Netherlands. How do they look? Because I know you've always been chatty with them. I know you've done a podcast on this very platform with Tom Cooper in his bathrobe. What is the Netherlands squad looking like? We'll just put it up right now. But before we come to that, it's my apologies because we have to showcase the Group D fixtures just to whet the appetite for you all because it looks something like this. And there are going to be some great ties, make no mistake, throughout the group stage of the World Cup. But Group D, all the business begins on the 3rd of June on Monday, where Sri Lanka take on South Africa. That is a tasty one indeed. Then Nepal, Netherlands on the 4th of June, followed by that Nagan Derby on the Friday, 7th of June. And then Netherlands, South Africa. There's always an upset there. We don't have to tell you more about that. South Africa, Bangladesh as well, followed by Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bangladesh, Netherlands, South Africa, Nepal. And then, of course, the last 2 group games being Bangladesh, Nepal, and Sri Lanka, Netherlands, which could be a potential group deciding match if it pans out that way. Right, Pramod, I was asking you about the boys in orange. How do they look this time around? And where do you put them? They're not just here to compete, I'm sure.
Absolutely not. That they've shown that over the last couple of editions, be it 2022 or even 2023 for that matter, they're here to win. They're here to progress through to the next round. And and this time they've got a good chance as well. I think they're up against South Africa once again. We know they're going into this fixture as their favorites. I don't know if you guys will disagree with that, but yeah. But yeah, other fixtures, I think I definitely see them as definitely see them going through from this group. I don't know if that will be along with Bangladesh or South Africa, but yeah, I think they are in a good position. They have a good side, and over the last year, they've really taken their game up a notch. If that was possible, they've gone to Nepal, they've beaten Nepal, and so they've really done well in those sort of hard fixtures, and they make it through, of course, after finishing top 8 in the previous edition as well. And that's an extra motivation as well to make it through to the Super 8s. You get an automatic qualification to the 2026 T20 World Cup. So I think, yeah, they are very much in pole position to do that.
I'll come back to you on the squads, Pramod, because you mentioned that they have a good side heading into the tournament this time in the Caribbean and the USA. And of course, it makes you think about a little bit about their fact file, boys, and get Jeet and Akshay to comment on this, because remember, they played 23 World Cup games in the T20, so there are no new boys on the block, so to speak. And of course, their best finish was the Super 12s in 2022. Most runs, no prizes for guessing, because Max O'Dowd has been, of course, in the thick of things in the last couple of World Cups for them. And then, of course, that veteran, Paul van Meekeren, 18 wickets is what he's taken in the grander scheme of things for the World Cup. So Netherlands, a little fact file there. We'll come to the squad in just a bit and showcase those names for you. But I just want to get a quick one from Akshay here before I go to Jeet and the squad and Pramod to chip in. Akshay, where do you put Netherlands with regards to all the 20 teams participating this time around? Would you give them a number out of 20, just to set context from where you're coming from?
Ooh, that's a bit tough. I'd probably have them in my top 10 for sure, like to sort of begin with. They've qualified directly. They were one of the 8 teams to qualify, like Pramod mentioned, this time around as well. And fingers crossed, they can do so for the next edition as well. But in terms of the names they have, unfortunately, this is not their full strength squad. Despite that, this looks a fairly well-rounded squad. They've got plenty of options, both with the bat and the ball. A couple of names in terms of, known suspects that way that I'd really be looking forward to. Paul van Meekeren, of course, the highest wicket taker when it comes to World Cups. A name I genuinely rate highly. I genuinely think the guy's gotten him, to sort of come good at the highest level. So fingers crossed he can do well. Good to see Tim Pringle come back, because he wasn't available for the 23 World Cup. A big miss for them, considering the fact that the World Cup happened in the subcontinent. Fingers crossed his experience and all of that will come in handy in terms of him sort of being the lead spinner there. Of course, in terms of other names with the bat in hand, Jeet, I would like you also to chip in. Of course, Vikramjit to open along with Max O'Dowd. How do you look at the batting sort of, structuring itself when it comes to US conditions, and what will be on offer in the West Indies as well?
Well, they've still got the firepower as far as the batting is concerned. I know that the likes of Ben Cooper is gone. He's out of the picture. Tom Cooper is out of the picture as well. There is no Colin Ackerman who's available. But hey, at the end of the day, Maxwell O'Dowd has been outstanding and very, very consistent for them throughout, whether it's the T20 World Cups or the bilateral series. He's done phenomenally well. Vikramjit Singh is an outstanding talent coming through the Dutch ranks. So that's the one guy that I'm looking for. So I just hope they continue to open with him. Besides these two, I mean, they've got the experience of Wesley Barasi, but he has been quite woefully out of form lately. But at the end of the day, experience matters, and he's the most experienced player on the side in terms of how much he has played, how many domestics he has played. So that's probably another guy that I'm looking forward to. Michael Levitt, another youngster, having an outstanding run as well. So keep an eye on him as well. But what's really important here with this particular side is that they've got bowlers who can contribute as well with the bat. You look at what Logan Van Beek can do. You look at what Tim Pringle can do. These guys have the ability to chip in, and those runs proved to be really, really crucial down the order. So don't rule them out. They've got batting depth as well with these bowlers trying to chip in as well. So they're short of experience as compared to the previous edition, but it's still quite good on paper.
I'll add Aryan Dutt and Meekeren as well. Meekeren bats at number 11 for them. Make no mistake, he's not a typical number 11. Exactly. Aryan Dutt, we saw him in the ODI World Cup. He came up with more than a couple of crucial cameos from what I can remember at least. So yeah, 100%.
Also, another miss, of course, is Roelof van der Merwe, who's not playing in this thing.
Which is basically you preempting my next question, Pramod. The fact that he has such a big role and presence in that Dutch side in past teams, and now do you think that's going to be a little void that they need to fill?
I mean, this point was bound to come at some point or the other, so it's not a major this thing. But they have Tim Pringle with similar skill sets, who bowls left arm spin and can come down at say 7-8 and get a few useful runs as well. He's had a good season in the Super Smash with both bat and ball. Not great, but decent season, like about 10 wickets and about 150 200 runs at 7-8, which is a decent tournament for him. So yeah, I mean, this transition was bound to happen at some point, and it's probably the right time to sort of do it this time around.
I just want to put all you guys on the spot here, because with these associate teams, with all due respect, they can of course stir a surprise, and we'd love to see that at the grandest stage of them all. But right now, we'll reflect that fixtures for you all, and I want to ask Akshay, Pramod, and Jeet not just their predictions and where Netherlands will finish, but where can they do harm in this group? Yes, they start off the tournament with relatively that punch for punch game against Nepal. If they pick up the points there, you never know what can happen with the Netherlands South Africa game. So, Pramod, can they stir themselves out of this group and probably gradually take it through on course?
They can, as you said, the Netherlands. I mean, they've had the wood over Nepal recently, if I'm not wrong, Netherlands. So I think they have a bit of an edge over there. I think the game against South Africa, I think once again could be a deciding factor as to if they go through or not. And they just beat Sri Lanka yesterday in the warm-up game, so I'm hoping they do it again in the main event as well. So I think you can't really rule them out with the sort of performances they've been putting in over the last few months. They're definitely in the mix when it comes to making it to the Super 8. There's no question about that.
Okay, before I go to the boys, then one name from you which stands out and you want people to really take notice of this tournament from the Dutch. The 15 that there are we just showed. Can you give me one name?
Let me go first. There's just too many names, to be honest. Too many names that I like. Too many names that I wish really well for. It's hard. It's really hard.
Come on, putting you on the spot. Let's go, because I think I genuinely think the name that you mentioned right now, Akshay, Aryan Dutt, given the fact that he is a spinner, he could come into the game much more, bowls at critical overs for the Dutch. We saw that in the ODI World Cup as well. I'm backing my man Aryan Dutt.
Fair enough. Fair shout. Okay. In the interest of ensuring everyone takes a different name, जीत has already mentioned विक्रमजीत, नहीं तो मैं उसको mention कर ही देता. भाई ने रबाडा को पेला था ऑस्ट्रेलिया में, मतलब at least 2 छक्के मारे थे. That's good enough for me in terms of a night test. I won't go to him. The names been mentioned. All right, let me go to Engelbrecht. Only because T20s में हमने T20 I's में उसको ज़्यादा देखा नहीं है. This is sort of the first time he's playing in the T20 I format, like at least at the highest level. World Cup की जब बात करें, we saw him in the ODI World Cup. मेरे को personally तब I didn't think too much of him. He seemed a bit of a slow starter, but a gun fielder, and from what I understand, he's also done fairly well in the recent past. So fingers crossed, the guy comes good for them. Again, when you talk about experience and all, sure, playing wise, he's probably not played a lot. बीच में काफी बड़ा gap था, but even then, that age factor and all of it, for some reason, it makes for a good story. So fingers crossed, the guy does well for the Dutch, and yeah, hopefully we see them go through to the Super 8s.
Every time we mention that man's name, I keep thinking about that cricket.com article. I don't know which writer did it. Did you do it? Oh, promoted it. Sorry, promoted it himself, right? And it was a brilliant read. I think it's still available if you go look that up with regards to the SEO. Jeet, I'm going to come to you right now because Abbas Kunde is literally, again, taking a question off of my mouth to you, which his squad would have looked much more lethal if there was, of course, Rolf van der Merwe or Fred Klaassen or Colin Ackman. But they're not there. So again, same question to you. With those 3 out, who are you looking to pin your hopes on as a Netherlands cricket fan?
Well, there are many more than those 3 who are out who could have added a lot of value. Someone like even Shane Snater, who hasn't represented the Dutch for a while, but he could have another name. But anyway, I'll just stick to one name. So I'm not going to the usual suspects who have been delivering every time, like Bas de Leede or Maxwell O'Dowd or Paul van Meekeren. I'm going to go for Tim Pringle. Tim Pringle is somebody that I watched during the Super Smash, and this guy was outstanding. So I believe the tracks are going to really suit him. A quick left-arm spinner, attacks his stumps quite a lot, and more than handy lower order batter who can clear the ropes very, very easily. So he's young. Another guy with spectacles, better than Daniel Vittori when it comes to the T20 format of the game. Just watch out for this guy. He's going to be outstanding. But on a side note, just coming to Avnish and your name, Aryan Dutt. So again, that's another name that I feel is he's very, very similar to Washington Sundar, who's not washed yet. He's much better in terms of the value he still
Don't
brings in
watch
the T20
Washington.
format. Washington Sundar
No,
has had a
100%.
significant decline, but Aryan Dutt is somebody who is coming up the ranks rather quickly. So another that spin duo is going to be really, really vital.
Indeed, it is. And I think Sports Fan is going on to say something in the comments, which is very pivotal. And look, Sports Fan will answer all your questions. And it's a very important point that you bring up, given the conditions which are on offer in the US and the West Indies this time around. And I'll tell you what, all of the boys, including me, we will give you our Group D predictions to just wrap up the whole stuff later on in the show. So hang around for that. Bipin Shrestha, meanwhile, saying Nepal will beat Netherlands. I'm guessing he comes from that part of the world indeed. But if you're new to the channel, Bipan, please subscribe. Not Bipin, correction, Bipan indeed. And hello to everyone saying Gaming Sing at work. So we'll come back and watch this later. Was waiting for the previews. We're here. Don't worry about it. And we appreciate the honesty. If you don't want to watch it now, if you're busy having dinner, if you're busy doing something else, watch it later. 100% that's an option on YouTube. Do they have a left arm seamer now to fill in the Fred Klaasen void? Promote? They don't, right?
No, they don't. It is a big blow, of course, not having Fred Klaasen, probably one of the most experienced guys in the team. But I think I'm really looking forward to watching Vivian Kingma sort of get his really the big. I think this is the biggest opportunity he has to sort of to showcase his skills. He has this. He has the talent, but I don't think he's ever been given the long run that he probably deserves. I think so. This is the tournament. I think hopefully very makes it to the 11 consistently and does well. But yeah, losing Fred Klaasen is a massive blow. Other than being a left arm seamer, he's a good swing bowler up top, of course, and that would certainly be an area where Netherlands would miss him.
Okay, let's move on then, because we still have 4 more teams in this Group D preview. So that was Netherlands done and dusted. There's still 4 more to go, and we'll stick with ends, and we'll, of course, bring in Nepal next, because I'm not going to be done with the boys in the group just yet, because there's plenty to pick on with regards to South Africa, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh. But Nepal then, and we'll give you the fact file to start off, just to give you a little impression of what they're going to be doing. Remember, Nepal, they haven't played that many T20 World Cup games. In fact, just 3. The first round was the best finish they could get in 2014. And of course, that man is going to be a man which is going to be taking this World Cup by storm. I think Dipendra Singh Airy has already proven his worth with the bat in hand. I'm not just referencing that game against Mongolia where the whole team went bad. And of course, the household name is Sandeep Lamichhane, who I'm not sure has got his visa, or there was some problem with his travel, right? Is he
He's
there?
not going. He's not
He's
going.
not going.
No.
So in terms of the fact file, he's there because he's taken the most wickets. So that's why I think he made the graphic, but I don't think he's actually making the squad. So Nepal, the Rhinos, as they're better known, Pramod, again, I'll come to you with this. How are things looking for them and Monty Desai, who I'm guessing is still at the helm?
Yeah, Monty Desai is still there. Nepal are looking okay, I guess. I think the team, the composition looks fine. Although missing Lamichhane is a huge blow for them. Easily the most well-traveled member of the team, and one of the best spinners that they have in T20 cricket right now. So not having him is a blow, but it gives an opportunity to someone like Lalit Rajbanshi or Sagar Takal, another left-arm spinner, to sort of come in to perform here. But yeah, overall, I think it's a pretty balanced side. They have the bases covered in terms of having a good top order, good a spin all rounder, a pace all rounder. So and 2, of course, good all out and 3. I think 2 or 3 good fast bowlers in, I think, Karan Casey, Sompal Kami, and Avinash Bora. And Avinash Bora is definitely one to watch out for. I'm really excited to see how he goes this time. So I think more they have their bases covered, and if they sort of everyone has a decent outing on the day, I think they could easily ruffle a few feathers in Group D.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? For all these smaller nations participating in the World Cup, and it gives them the chance to, of course, go up against the best. And that's something that Nepal did, Jeet, against India and Pakistan in that Asia Cup in Sri Lanka. I know it was a different format, but still, they got a little taste of it we know some of the names there that Pramod has just mentioned. In fact, if you guys know Cricket Crazy Nicks, he's a big fan of someone called Gulshan Jha, who's I think even Akshay loves quite a bit. We mentioned him on MNL before. I think we did some stuff with the Nepal fan and the team as well. So they were real fans of him. And of course, the captain needs no introduction. Rohit Patel is brilliant. Kushal Mala is another power hitter in that rank. But what stands out for you, Jeet, from, again, a perspective that, yes, they're the underdogs. Yes, they'll have to punch above their weight. But can they? Can they give anyone a run for their money in this Group D?
They can. They are certainly capable of doing that. So I was just looking at the age of the squad that they've got. The average age is just below 24 years, which goes on to show how many youngsters they've got in their side.
Is that the
Even Rohit
youngest?
Patel, I believe they will be the youngest. Yeah, 24, below 24. That's quite young. So I believe they must have at least one of the youngest squads in this particular World Cup, and very, very capable. So it's one of the teams that's been playing cricket quite a lot lately, whether it's the A tours that they have got or their first side that is playing consistently. They've got a lot of experience coming into the World Cup and a lot of game time coming into this World Cup. But again, those usual suspects will be quite important here. Someone like Dipendra Singh Ivy. So recently there was a bilateral series against Qatar, and this guy hit 6 balls, 6 sixes in the last over. So that's another feat that a Nepal batter was able to achieve besides the hundreds and the 50s that they've cracked. Kushal Malla, second fastest ODI century against Mongolia. I believe that was off 34 balls. So these guys are really capable. We often talk about Trent Bolt in his first over wickets in the IPL, but don't forget that Nepal have got KC Karan, who's very capable of picking up a wicket in the first over that he bowls. So he also has a knack, and that's an outstanding start to have in every game if your fast bowler is setting the dice rolling straight away. So yeah, I mean, they are quite young. The last time and the only time they have qualified to the World Cup was back in 2014. So that's 10 years ago. But this is a new look side, a young side that's very hungry. So I wouldn't rule them out. They can cause an upset or two.
Okay, interesting. Akshay, I just want to get your thoughts because we just spoke about Netherlands. We're going to be speaking about all the other associate nations in the previews which come by, such as the US, Canada, of course, the Irish boys in India's group as well. Where do Nepal stand for you in terms of the pecking order? I know it's a similar question that I asked with regards to the boys in orange, but because Netherlands have at least had a couple of upsets, they've been part of more than one World Cup, how can Nepal cricket go forward and what do they need to do to, of course, accelerate that process, should we say, in the West Indies this time around, and the USA, of course?
I would, I mean, in terms of expectations, I'm hoping that they are able to give a good fight. But if I have to sort of be blunt about it, I would, of course, Netherlands have a far better chance of making it through to the Super 8s than Nepal. If there's one team that they can actually look to beat on their day, that's Bangladesh. Barring that, I'm not sure if they will be able to come over Sri Lanka or South Africa or Netherlands for that matter. Primarily because, again, when you make the jump to the highest level, bowling wise, I don't think they have to worry too much. Karan Casey against India also, to be honest, didn't do too badly. Of course, wickets नहीं मिले थे, so it makes it seem कि हाँ boss, of course Nepal है तो ज़्यादा कुछ किया नहीं. But he did trouble India's openers that day. And of course, lots to like about him in terms of his bowling. But batting, I'm not too sold on it yet. Sure, there is Kushal Malla, we know Dipendra Airi's sort of exploits against Mongolia, and of course at the list A cricket level. But यहाँ पे I'm not sure if they will be able to come good, against the likes of Nokia, Rabada, Kurtzia, when they are expected to pace, 12 or 10 overs even of 140 plus bowlers. That's where I think they will need some more time with experience. Hopefully, they will sort of get better at it. Right now, I don't think the batting can sort of come good. This is where someone like a Bangladesh, because Bangladesh's bowling itself lacks that bit of tooth, you can sort of see a well-contested game there. Barring that, I'm not sure how will they match up against Netherlands or Sri Lanka, because again, both Netherlands, Sri Lanka, South Africa, all of them have those bowlers ki bhai, they can just sort of run through the batting order, run through Nepal's batting order that is in a jiffy. Fingers crossed that won't happen. And again, Karan Casey is a name that I'm genuinely looking forward to. Gulshan Jha, of course, Avnish has mentioned. A youngster, of course, at least on paper, he is young. And all-round direct, बहुत talent है वहाँ पे, and fingers crossed he can be groomed and developed into someone who can do wonders for Nepal.
Yeah, indeed. Abbas Kunde resonating those thoughts with Karan Casey. Well-built guy, indeed. The Cricket King randomly saying AB Cricket4. I mean, he's a funny guy if you guys follow him, but do follow us as well. There's lots
Cricket
of
King
people
or
talking
who?
about. I'm guessing all three. There's AB Cricket4 and there's AB
Oh,
Atlas
that's a
Cricket4.
channel. I thought he said Ab Cricket for. Okay. AB Cricket for
That's
is
mad.
it?
Meanwhile, Ral Duke also saying Nepal's group lacks associate teams. Netherlands is above that level, offering no easy wins. Other groups have two associate teams, providing them chances for wins against each other. And Samijit Acharji saying, I'm guessing Bangladesh will be out of group stage without winning any match. We'll come to Bangladesh in just a
But
bit. But
just one
speaking
thing
of,
to add to that, Rahul, I don't think Nepal should look at it as something to be worried about. It's a feature, not a bug. The fact that they will be playing such good teams will actually help them sort of, such experiences, what they need more than just sort of defeating the likes of Canada or US. वो तो बाद में भी तुम अलग से कर सकते हो. When you're here, might as well sort of face the best and understand what it takes to sort of do well at the highest level. So that way, I don't think I'd sort of be looking at it with disappointment. Glass half full is the way to go from there.
no, agreed. And I feel that Nepal still have a lot of giant strides to take in the game of cricket. They have done really well in the last 5-10 years, some would say. But right now, their opportunity is huge. If they can, of course, topple over the likes of Bangladesh or Sri Lanka, it would just be brilliant. And I don't know, my geography is such, Pramod, but Nepal, Bangladesh, I'm guessing that Siliguri corridor, the 22-mile one, which I studied in school, comes to mind. The distance between the two nations is still, I think, wide apart, but maybe there's a little rivalry brewing there. Have they ever played each other, Nepal and Bangladesh?
I think they did in the 2014 one, right? I think did they play
2014
them?
खेला होगा.
I think they did probably.
They
I'm
did,
not
yeah.
too sure. But I don't think outside of that, I don't think they played any bilateral series as such. But yeah, as Akshay said, I think the experience of playing such high quality pace, high quality players will probably be the difference. Nepal, of course, have been excellent in ODI cricket over the last year. They somehow snuck into those World Cup qualifiers last year, which I didn't expect at the halfway stage probably.
We all
So I
remember
think
how they did Pramod.
how did they do it? I'm sorry.
No, I said we all remember the game, how
Yeah.
they sneak through.
Of course, of course. Yeah. So yeah, but T20s, I think they've shown glimpses, but I don't think they're right there yet at where they can go toe to toe with some of the big teams. But yeah, this tournament will be a huge sort of a learning curve for them certainly.
Look, let me just, of course, add on to that because Pramod was right. They did take on Bangladesh in that 2014 World Cup and they lost to them by 8 wickets. But the positive side and the silver lining from that tournament is not just the fact that they participated, but they beat Afghanistan in that tournament. If you guys look at the history with regards to that, and back Nepal, saying, don't forget, Nepal made 230 runs against 140 place against India in the Asia Cup. We are 100%. Abnish working from holiday as well. What to do, lad? What to do? But at least have the Chang for good measure. Chang indeed. That's a clue to where I am. Right, moving on then, because Netherlands done, Nepal done, and there's 3 more, and there's some sumptuous team to talk about. I don't want to say sumptuous and then Bangladesh in the same sentence because they've been far from that. But Bangladesh it is who's going to be the third team because they've been coming off an absolute stinker of a series, even though they ended that particular series in a high 10-wicket win and Mustafizur getting his career best of 6 for. And I know Crazy Nicks has been harping upon one name in terms of Tawad Hriday. I know the big boys are not informed, Ritan Das and all of these guys still need to get their act together, Shanto and the likes of them. But let's go with Bangladesh and let's put that fact file out. And I'll start with Akshay here before I go on to the boys because they've had a World Cup pedigree. Their most famous match was a loss against India in Bangalore. I don't want to be all sour towards the men in green, but Shakib and Shakib, those are the names that stand out. He's carried that flag for Bangladesh so much and for so long, but he's not been the bowler that he's been in recent times. Where do you stand with Bangladesh? Are they just going to be the piñata in the group? Pretty much like the donkey that you hit in a Mexican birthday party.
Sure, call them what you want, but yeah, it's very unfortunate to see how Bangladesh have fared in the last 4-5 years because probably their sort of moment of glory was the 2019 World Cup where it seemed like Bangladesh was finally coming of age. They were sort of now ready to make the jump to the higher level to sort of compete with the likes of India, England, Australia, the big three that is. Unfortunately, it's not panned out that way. We've seen the likes of Afghanistan, South Africa even sort of come good in terms of the younger crop of cricketers coming good and doing well for them. Not really been the case for Bangladesh. Of course, it's a bit of both the the lack of grooming, the lack of nurturing of the younger cricketers, and also there's been a lot of other things going on behind the scenes. It's very unfortunate to see how they fared, and given why it's no surprise that entering this World Cup, I don't think a lot of people, including their own fans, will be too keen to sort of expect something from them. Of course, they have a very, very, very passionate group of fans, which is why time and time again sort of drawn comparisons with RCB in terms of how performances शायद उतने अच्छे ना रहे. I know Avnish, I was expecting, I was already waiting for that reaction, but they have very loyal fans, and definitely those fans deserve something better from their national side. Shakib and Mahmudullah, of course, two of the three players who featured in each and every World Cup edition since the 2007 World Cup, that is. They continue to be there. Tawhid Hriday, Shanto are two names that even I've sort of really been looking forward to, but I don't know यार वो US series देखने के बाद तो भाई मतलब it's hard. It's genuinely hard because there's only so much the likes of Shakib or Mustafizur can do by themselves. And I'd like Jeet to chip in here because what do you like? What's the reason why this is happening?
Actually, I'm surprised that you're looking forward to Najmul Hossain Shant with the bat. I know he's the leader, but I mean his career strike rate is something that's a telltale, right? As to which format is more suited for him. But again, Bangladesh. So I believe in every edition they haven't won more than 2 matches. So that tells you how much they've underperformed edition after edition. So that's a big issue. The warm-up game sadly also was washed out, I believe, which was at Dallas. Now that's exactly where they'll be facing Sri Lanka in their first World Cup game. So they'll be kind of agreed with that. Luckily, they had the series against the US, but it didn't pan out quite well either. So it, of course, I mean, it goes on to show how much USA is developing, but how much even Bangladesh is declining in terms of the kind of talent they've got. I know Tamim, Iqbal, and all these guys are missing, but at the end of the day, it's quite struggling. But the one thing they'll be really pleased about, including myself, is not the comeback of Shakib Al Hasan, but the fact that they've finally got a wrist spinner on the side. This is the one complaint that I've had for such a long time. CSK, I mean, they have a wrist spinner, but they bench him. Bangladesh have no wrist spinners, even in their domestic circuit. That's been a huge, huge issue. In Rashad Hossain, they've finally got one. So I believe Aminul Islam, Jubair Hossain, and Sabir Rahman were the few wristies that they've got previously. But again, these are not frontline wristies that they've got. But in Rashad Hossain, they've finally got somebody who's really, really talented. So I believe a few months ago, maybe this month itself, BCB had organized a camp to get the talented and budding wrist spinners and to see how they go about it and to prepare them for the future. With the spin bowling coach Mushtaq Ahmed being in presence, so it's something that they've consciously looked at, and from there they found out Rashad Hossain, who has done a really, really good job. So that's going to be one of the names that I'm looking forward to.
Okay, interesting. Let's just see who else features in that squad, Pramod. And I'll get your 2 pence in Bangladesh right now because Tashkeen Ahmed is a name which missed out in that series against the USA, but he's back after a long layoff. And he, of course, spearheads the attack. What else, of course, do you like about this squad, let alone dislike about this squad?
I mean, I think I'll make your jobs a little easier. I think is there any point even previewing Bangladesh because they're probably the most unpredictable sort of a team. For all they might win 3-4 matches and there's this thing in progress, and they're so inconsistent that they may not actually win any game. So that there's no middle for them, unfortunately. But yeah, as Jeet mentioned, I was pretty excited to see Rashad Hossain. He can bat as well. Bat at 7, bat at 8, get those 30-40 quick runs. Jakar Ali, of course, is another bright prospect. If Litton Das, for some reason, they decide to bench him or not have him, maybe he's a good option to have low down the order to sort of get those quick runs. But yes, Tashkent not playing the US series was a big blow. They will definitely need him for the T20 World Cup. With the experience that he sort of brings in, the skill set that he has. But yeah, I mean, even as much as you guys would like to deny that, it was pretty fun to watch them lose 2-1 to the US for sure.
Who's denying?
Yeah,
Who is denying?
Okay, sorry,
All
my
up.
bad then. Yeah.
ridiculous. And to see Corey Anderson stitch partnerships against them, I'm just like
And,
baffled. But
and
look, onwards and upwards.
Harmeet Singh will smack them out of the park.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Harmeet Singh as well.
But
And I'll be keen to talk about the US in just a bit. But Akshay, let me just circle back things to Bangladesh a little bit about their fixtures and how whether it's a nice thing and not a nice thing to start your tournament against your arch rival in the Nagin Derby. And that's going to be even for their fans, God bless them, because Bangladesh, they'll be up and about in Chittagong, Mirpur, Sylhet, having their tea and chai and everything like that, watching this game. How do you see the group panning out for them? And do you think they actually can get away with it, even though there's Sri Lanka and South Africa there? They could enter, like Pramod said, very unpredictable, very mercurial like Pakistan.
sure, very unpredictable, very mercurial. But again, they are up against South Africa. Sure, South Africa have choked themselves, but I wouldn't. Yeah, it would be too big a surprise. It's too much of an ask. Sure, they've done that before, but again, yeah, it's because they'll be up against the likes of Klaassen, Stubbs. There's Markram, Miller. Even an out of form Markram is good
No,
enough.
the thing with Bangladesh, Akshay, sorry to cut you off. I just feel like fine, maybe they can actually post 140, 150 and defend it, and that's their modus operandi, at least from the outset. But I feel they haven't really ever showed me in T20s that they can take the game away with the bat. If they've probably done that, they've lost wickets and they've lost them at clusters when they've gone for like that crazy attacking sort of play. So can we see some sort of different gameplay from them in the West Indies? Or again, will they just be, again, a bowling heavy side, relying on Shakib, Fizz, Tusky, and so on and so forth?
That's a very good point you mentioned, and something I was getting to as well in terms of Bangladesh's batting. That's sort of been their Achilles heel. We've seen off late how T20s has seen that paradigm shift in terms of batters and batting units understanding ki boss, we are here to score boundaries. We are here to sort of get those big gigantic totals, in excess of 180, 200 consistently. We've seen that in the IPL itself, and that's what teams are going to be looking to do, even in the US especially. But when I look at this Bangladesh unit, barring say, a very, very, very much informed Shanto and Tawhid Ridaya, even Tanzid Hassan for that matter, bhai, matlab ODIs mein humne dekha tha, I know this is a different format, but he's yet to prove his mettle here. Liton Das, yaar, matlab again, it's another case of what if. Bhai, matlab hai, clearly बहुत talent. I genuinely like him as well as a batter. He clearly has it. But क्या ही बोले अभी? घूम फिर के फिर भी बात आ जाती है महमूदुल्लाह शाकिब पे. Like the experienced pros have to are once again expected to sort of do well for them, and I don't think that is their game, which is why it becomes that much more important for Ridoy in particular. Like that's why he's going to be very key for this Bangladeshi unit if they are going to get even some semblance of a decent enough score. The late 170s, the early 180s at the very least. He's going to be very key for them. And but yeah, it's just too much dependence. Yeah, batting wise, भी अगर देखोगे, technically Mehdi Hassan, then Rishad at number 8. ठीक है, boss. मतलब that's decent enough batting, you would imagine. At number 9, sorry, Rishad. But I don't know, man. I just don't know. It's one of those, like Gurkirat used to say back in the day. It gives you the illusion of batting depth without necessarily sort of it being of any value. So yeah.
Okay, final question about Bangladesh, and that can be answered by Jeet and Pramod in half and half, if you'd like it that way. There is, of course, a new captain across formats for Bangladesh, which is, of course, a name that you guys mentioned in Najmul Hussain Santu. Could it be a new era? Could it be a new sort of resurgence from him and this particular side? Or do you think, again, it's just going to be just another World Cup where everything will just be smoke more than fire? Jeet?
I won't be surprised if the latter happens because, of course, all format captain. But as I mentioned, the numbers are not even promising enough. And I've watched him bat, and the intent is a bit of a thing that he lacks. So that's going to be a big issue. So in the last 1 year, they've again had to rely on these young guns, whether it is Tawheed Ridoy, Tanzid Hassan, Zakir Ali. But all these experienced batters have struggled. Now, whether it is Najmul Hossain Shanto, Liton Das, who was struck at a strike rate of 100 in the last year, scoring 187 runs. So Shakib also has had a brief hiatus from T20 cricket, so he's back. So again, I believe it's going to be a case where those youngsters will have to fire because most of the experienced guns are quite woefully out of form. Yeah, of course, you would back someone like Shakib to do well because he has the experience of playing in these conditions. I don't think he's ever played at the Arno's Vale, but he's got a lot of experience playing in the West Indies, be it internationals or be it the CPL as well. And the conditions also is something that should suit his style of bowling and batting. So again, it's a no-brainer that a lot will ride upon what and how Shakib Al Hasan does, but others need to find form. I won't be surprised if the latter happens like you mentioned.
Pramod, I know that they have Shakib and Rahmatullah to probably usher in this whole Najmul as captain, but who are the other people they can look at the bench from a coaching staff lens? Do they still have Alan Donald and Chandrika Hatrusingha, was it? Who was coaching them for a point in time?
Chandika Atura Singh.
Yeah, Hatrusingha.
Yeah,
He's still
I think
there, so-
the way Bangladesh can see this is it's like sort of a reset button for them to sort of hit at this point. There are a lot of youngsters coming in, as Jeet said. Shakib and all these senior guys are probably already have 1 foot out of the team. Anyway, we may not see them for a really long time. So this is the time for them to sort of rebuild and get in new players, get in fresh players. I think that I saw a comment also saying that they could there are slow pitches in the Caribbean, and their spinners could come in handy, which is quite true actually. And as you mentioned, like if they score about put 140, 135, 140, 150 on the board, you never know what those spinners can do. I think that sort of will be their sort of modus operandi, if you will, to put runs on the board and have their spinners have a crack at it.
It'll be interesting to see how Bangladesh go about it. Jeet, you just wanted to finish off something?
Yeah, I just want to say, so over the last year, I mean, they obviously preferred Mehdi Hasan over Mehdi Hasan Miraz. So that's been one of the key transitions that has taken place. I know there are many Mehdi Hassans, but that's
The
not being
names, man.
specific.
Yeah.
But one of the big surprises for me is that they have let go of Nasu Mehmet. Now, this guy is very impressive with the new ball, and he is more like Imad Wasim. He's going to keep it tight and he's going to take wickets in the power play. But instead of him, they've gone for Tanveer Islam. So that's something that I've been very, very surprised about. So I don't even think he's going to get a game, but I don't know why they've let go of some of these players when the tournament where they could have succeeded has come. So really surprising selections there.
Okay, let us know if you guys agree with the boys and tell us what you guys feel about Bangladesh and how they will go about this World Cup, because there are, of course, some good games from their perspective, and that opening clash against Sri Lanka promises to be a thriller. Speaking of Sri Lanka, let's move on to them, because in this preview, 3 down, 2 to go, and I have to, of course, go to dinner after that. So let's quickly, swimmingly move on to Sri Lanka, lads. And I will start with Jeet here, even though I don't want to give him a break. So Sri Lanka, let's have it, Jeet. First thoughts, before anything, Sri Lanka at the T20 2024 World Cup, what's your first thoughts?
First thought is that it's high time they again, make it to knockouts. So in 2009, they were the runners-up. 2010, they were the semi-finalists. 2012, again runners-up. And 2014, they were the champions. But the 3 editions that succeeded the 2014 World Cup when they were the champions have been very, very underwhelming for them. So, of course, I mean, they've done much better than the other teams to make it to knockouts and reach the finals and even be champions once. But it's been a while since that has happened. So I'm hoping that somehow this edition becomes an edition where they again make it to knockouts. Maybe group stage may not be an issue, but somehow they need to find a way in the Super 8s to make it to the knockouts, and that is going to be really, really important for them going forward. I know it was just a warm-up game yesterday, but losing to the Dutch was quite surprising. I know, again, their first game after a while with some of their key players who were back, but you can't be losing in a manner like this, being like 50 odd for 5 after 10 overs, chasing 180. That was very, very surprising. So it's, again, first game, warm-up game, that's fine. I don't mind that, but they need to find the mojo to make it all the way. I'm just glad to see Bandu Hasaranga back in the mix as well. It's been a long time. So he skipped IPL to be fit for the World Cup. Now it's his time. The World Cup has come. Now it's his time to actually deliver, be the leader with the bat, be the leader with the ball, like he was in the LPL. A different competition altogether, a different difficulty level altogether. But T20 World Cup, the pitches might suit him. Batting again lower down the order, this guy is going to be really, really vital to Sri Lanka's chances.
Yeah, indeed. I think Hasaranga, in fact, if you'd asked me before, be like, who do you think you'd put like $10 on to win the most wickets award or whatever, it would probably be Hasaranga, because I know he did it in that 2021 edition where he got 16 wickets, the most for any bowler in a single World Cup in the T20 scheme of things. But let's see if he can replicate the performance in 2024. And like you mentioned, Jeet sat out the IPL, concentrating on the World Cup. So let's see how that goes for them. And And remember, Sri Lanka, I remember that they beat India in that 2010 World Cup in the Caribbean. I think last ball thriller. I think it was Kapugedera who went inside
Yes,
out over
Kapugedera
cover
was
and
there.
beat India. It was ridiculous. But let me just give you a Sri Lanka fact file before I get Akshay and Pramod's thoughts on the men from the Emerald Island. Because look, 51 World Cup games that they played in T20. Remember, they've made a final in 2009. They've been, of course, winners themselves in 2014, beating India. And not to forget, their World Cup win percentage is a good one, above 60%. You would like to believe it is a decent return. Most runs, one of the legends, MJ, Mahela Jayawardene, over 1,000 runs. In fact, he sits in the top 3 or 4 in terms of all-time run getters in the World Cup, in the T20 scheme of things again. And then Malinga, of course, no prizes for guessing. And then let me just jump onto the squad straight away and come to Pramod's thoughts on this, and then Akshay can chip in, because Hasranga, we just mentioned it, he's going to be leading this side. Do you think that's a boon or a bane, Mr. Anand?
I mean, as a bowler, I think Hasranga's task, especially against Nepal and Netherlands, is going to be pretty easy. He's thrived on picking up wickets against such teams as we've seen in the last at least couple of World Cups. So, but I think the real challenge for him is when he comes up against South Africa, Bangladesh, and other teams. So that's one thing. But what I'm noticing from the Sri Lankan squad is they really have a good pace unit, don't they? They have Chamira, they have Tushara, they have Patirana. They're all in Madhushanka, of course, as well. All in good form. Or probably a few of them returning from injury, which is a minor concern. But I think that pace attack is very good, and they have decent spinners as well. Vilalage and Hasaranga himself, who can and Tikshana, of course. So I think it's a pretty decent, in fact, quite a good bowling attack, if you ask me. It's just a question of if their batters can sort of complement their bowlers, which has not been the case most of the time. Last World Cup we saw against teams like Namibia, they fell short by a considerable margin. So it'll be interesting to see if they've sort of worked on that aspect a little bit. If they have, I think they have a pretty decent team in this World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, I was just kind of thinking about this question that Sports Fan asked. I think, what was it, 3 months ago, 4 months ago?
Last year itself, they had a series. Was it December, November? I'm guessing last year itself, though. After the World Cup, this happened after the World Cup. But Hasranga was made captain then. अच्छा क्या था उसने वो LPL और ये सब में. So you can see why they sort of switched to Hasranga, because he was a sure shot starter with them in the 11, and he was also part of the title-winning team in the Lanka Premier Leagues and Premier all-round and whatnot. So, I mean, you can't really complain much. Sure, Shanaka had also shown glimpses of good captaincy, but the player itself was in contention, like Dasun Shanaka, the player, which is why they decided to make the switch. And like Pramod mentioned, their pace attack is definitely one to watch out for. I'm excited to see them, but again, it's still raw. Like, all of them haven't really played a lot at this level. Madhushanka, Tushara, all of them, if I'm not wrong, are playing the first T20 World Cup. Both of them, at least. So is Patirana. None of them were even anywhere close to the record in the 22 World Cup. So yeah, back then they had कौन था भाई मैं like अरे नाम क्या था उस बंदे का? How did I forget the guy's name? Who was that pacer in the last World Cup? The Test सब खेलता है. Why do I want to say Dhamika Prasad? Not Prasad.
I think nobody remembers.
Huh?
Right arm or left arm?
Right arm. Like I can remember his face. He has that.
Shamika Karunaratne.
Not
Shamika.
Rajita.
नहीं रजता अभी भी है. छोड़ो, I'll remember that and come back on it. But very solid bowling attack, because
Ashita Fernando.
नहीं भाई. But pace-wise, they're sorted. Spin-wise, of course, with Hasranga and Tikshana, they've got two bowlers who can spin the ball both ways. And, the likes of, sure, you can mention Karunaratne and Vellalge, they've got all-rounders as well in decent mix, batting all-rounders, bowling all-rounders. So that way, bowling, Lahiru Kumara. Thank you so much, Priyanshu. It's Kumara I was thinking of. And, yes, Pramod Madhushan nahi. But in terms of their bowling attack, sure, it looks really good. But once again, it's the batting that really concerns me, because like I mentioned about Bangladesh, Abhi you're seeing that shift happen jahan pe aggressive batting with intent being the buzzword, could potentially be the buzzword of the World Cup as well, irrespective of how the pitches are. I don't know Sri Lanka's batting exactly.
And they miss my favorite guy right now in this current climate.
Kushal Pereira. Would you take him in
100%.
RCB?
Janeth, man. Janeth forever. After that fucking win against South Africa, brilliant. I think he deserves a longer opener. But jokes apart, you're absolutely spot on. The fact that they have no one to take the game away with a bat in hand. Similar question to you, back to you, Akshay, with regards to that fixture list. When you look at Sri Lanka's Group D fixtures, if they have a hiccup, which is possible in their first fucking game against South Africa, then they could be dragged into that slump with Nepal, with Bangladesh, with Netherlands, right?
So Nepal is probably the only team where they start as favorites. I'll put it that way. Even against Bangladesh, I wouldn't say Sri Lanka favorites. They're not outright favorites. Sure, it might be 51-49 or 55-45, but I wouldn't say was outright favorites. They too, like, this is their game to lose. That's probably only against Nepal. Against Bangladesh, against Netherlands, we can very easily lose. I can very easily see that happen, which is why it is very important for their batters to come good. You know, we've seen they tend to sort of pack a lot of anchor type batters in their top order. Sure, Samara Vikrama did show glimpses of, you know, what he can do in the ODI World Cup. But ODI World Cup, I mean, ODIs में aggressively खेलना और T20Is में aggressively खेलना दोनों same चीजें नहीं है. So we'll also have to sort of account for that. And Pathum Nissanka, sure, he's a talent, sure, but again, intent and all of that, देखना पड़ेगा. I'm still not entirely sold on him as well, you know, as a T20I batter. And like Pramod mentioned, that Namibia game, my mind goes back to even the UAE game for that matter, yaar. Jahan pe they almost sort of, you know, they had hiccups in coming through, but again, iसीलिए. So I'm not sure.
True. Jeet, introspect going on to say their batting is not too weak for the West Indies conditions. And keep your comments coming through. More than happy to, of course, give the guys as many as they can take tonight. But I want to ask you this, right? When we look at Sri Lanka right now and we think about their spin quartet, they could probably dish out 4 spinners if the conditions are right. DDS is your off spinner. Theeksana is your mystery spinner. Hasaranga is your leg spinner. I know he bowls quite a good googly. And of course, you have Veralage, who offers that left arm spin option as well. Do you think they are probably the most well-rounded attack in terms of variety? And can you second guess their playing 11, even though you kind of got a little indication of that little warm-up game against the Dutch?
So it's not only these 4 spinners, not to forget the ambidextrous Pascal Handy coming to Dilanka Mendes.
Correct.
He's another
correct,
option that they have got as well. So I agree. I mean, even when Akshay told that their pace attack lacks that experience. But at the end of the day, I look at the pace attack and I see that X factor in them. They've got the 2 slingy pacers in Matisha Patirana and Nuwan Tushara. They've got a right arm express pacer in Dushmanta Chamira and a left arm express pacer in Dilshan Madhushankar. So it's fairly well rounded, just like the spin attack as well. I know Angelo Matthews is another pacer who might do that Kyle Mills job of bowling 2 overs with new ball, but at the end of the day, that X factor is really, really vital in that pace department. They've got the middle over sorted, like you mentioned. That spin attack is absolutely outstanding with Vanandu Asaranga, Maris Dikshana, Villalage, and maybe Dhananjay D. Silva also chipping in. So it's again, I mean, if I look at the pace versus spin and compare them, I feel they've got a really, really good bowling attack to get the job done. But like Akshay mentioned, that intent is a huge issue with their batters. The 2 aggressive batters that they've had over the years have disappeared. One is Kushal Pereira, who was not even picked in the LPL, and second is Bhanuka Rajapaksa. So that was really, really surprising. So I believe they had a World Cup preparation tournament earlier this month. So the top batters were Kamindu Mendes, Kushal Mendes, and Avishka Fernando. These were the top 3 batters. The top 2 have made it. Avishka Fernando, I know his numbers are horrible in the T20I format of the game. But at the end of the day, that guy still has got more intent than what Pathum Nissanka has got as an opener. So Mickey Arthur was spot on. I believe a couple of years ago, he mentioned that Pathum Nissanka will make for a great ODI player. Now, that's something I absolutely agreed with. You watch his batting, you watch his technique, but you also watch his intent. It's more suited to the ODI format, not to the T20I format. He's more like the Babar Azam of Sri Lanka, probably even slower than Babar Azam, and that doesn't cut it. So suddenly, Bhanuka Rajapaksa is gone, Kushal Pereira is gone. In the bowling attack, they've got Binura Fernando is gone, with Nuwan Tushara, of course, having come up the ranks. Then there is the pace all-rounder Chamika Karunaratne, who has disappeared off the radar as well. So that's very, very surprising. I would actually rather back Chamika Karunaratne over someone like Angelo Matthews. I understand Angelo Matthews has had a very good 1 year T20I cricket, but I still see more value in what Karunaratne could have brought to the side. So bowling is sorted, batting not so much, and that's where the real challenge is going to lie in terms of getting to the totals of 170, 180, or if they are tasked by any chance of chasing 190 or over 200, then I think this side is going to have a huge, huge challenge on their hands.
And similar to pretty much Bangladesh, where they'll rely on their bowlers to come good, boys, with regards to not just the spin quartet that I mentioned, they also have the pacers that Akshay spoke about. I know there's no Patirana, but Nuvant Tushara, we saw what he can bring in terms of the angle that he creates with his pace up front, and not to forget the other names over there. So I really hope that someone like Petam Nisanka absolutely has a good season with the bat, so you can just carry on Sri Lanka to those 160, 170 totals, and then hope for the best from there on. Before we move on to South Africa and wrap up Group D, guys, Sri Lanka, yay or nay? Do you think they will qualify? What is your gut telling you? Yes or no? Before, don't give out your predictions. Do you think they will qualify? Yes or no? Simple, and then we'll move on. No?
The thing is, okay, I'll put it this way: they have higher odds of making it compared to Netherlands, Bangladesh. But I would want Netherlands to come through. So it's more of who I want as opposed to who would likely make it. Sure, they have better odds, compared to Netherlands and Bangladesh. I'll just put it that way right now.
And that way, actually, even I want Nepal and the Netherlands to actually qualify. I know it's not going to happen for a fact.
Yeah.
No, but
Again,
yeah.
My fingers are crossed that at least one of the two teams actually does make it through. But honestly, Sri Lanka do have that slightly higher chance. But hey, it's a World Cup. Anything can happen. We have seen some funny fixtures, funny results having taken place in the past. So you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and look, ultimately, promote Sri Lanka at least have one World Cup to brag upon. The next team that we're going to be previewing doesn't even have bloody one World Cup to show. So, cricket's a funny game.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about, I think Akshay and Jeet have already mentioned the reasonings behind this thing. So I think I'm going to stick to that, and I'm going to go with South Africa and Netherlands from this group.
Okay, super. Let's, of course, get to the men in green then, not the ones that we spoke of earlier, the proper green. I'm talking about the Proteas, South Africa, that is, because Pramod's wearing a little bit of green. Jeet is as well. And I think I wore it earlier today, if you guys know.
Sure.
Let's
It's
move
legal,
on. And
so it's fine wherever he is. So yeah.
Man, but
I think Jeet is wearing the Bangladesh green. I'm with the South African green.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, we'll get promote that. But guys, every time we talk about South Africa at an ICC event, it's like, oh, this time, bro, this time they should do it. This time, look at their squad. We feel for them. This, that, and all of that bullshit. But let's just give you that fact file to get it out of the way, because they have, of course, played 40 T20 World Cup games since 2007, South Africa, and their best finish, well, they've not made the finals yet. 2009, they made the semi-finals, and then 2014 as well, they did make the semi-finals. Who many people felt that they could have won that particular World Cup, but thanks to a certain Virat Kohli, they went out in the World Cup, and that was brilliant to see. And then, of course, World Cup win percentage, bang on 60%. I think the math is wrong over there, but AB de Villiers, Dale Steyn, hogging the limelight with regards to the most runs and the most wickets. How does their Group D start? Well, we mentioned it. They start against Sri Lanka, and of course, it'll be a tasty fixture, that, because head-to-head in ICC competitions, it's even Stevens at Sri Lanka, South Africa, and then they, of course, take on Netherlands, who is potentially been their banana skin in ICC competitions, and then, of course, Nepal, and then they wrap up with who else? Who else do they wrap up with? Yeah, they basically
That's it.
are there at that point playing Bangladesh, right? What are South Africa going to do, and can they win it? Because many people, when you ask even a layman on the road, be like, bro, South Africa, class in, dude, that's insane. They have Stubbs, man. They have Markram. But like, can we actually forget about it on paper? Can they come to the party in the Caribbean? This time, I want Promote to start. Or ignore.
Okay, I don't know if I'm stuck or is it okay.
Yeah, same. I'm scared right now.
Yeah.
Okay, Akshay, you go.
Yeah, I'll start.
Start off in
In
South Africa.
in terms of the middle order, it's easily the most explosive middle order in the tournament. Make no mistake. Klaasen, Stubbs, Miller, as good as it gets. Explosive against pace, explosive against spin, good in the middle, good at the death. That means it's as matlab, it's very, very, very complete. It's the top order, it's the openers that sort of will be a cause for concern. Quinton de Kock and Riza Hendricks opening for them, and Markram, and out to form Markram importantly at number 3. So those three batters, how they perform will sort of dictate terms for them in terms of how they progress in the tournament, irrespective of how out of form Markram is or their top order is. You would expect them to come through to the Super 8s given the kind of teams they will be facing. You would expect them to come over Netherlands, Nepal, and Bangladesh. Sure, we've seen Netherlands go one up against them, in the 22 World Cup and the 23 ODI World Cup, but it's not going to be easy this time around. But importantly, more than their batting, it's the bowling that genuinely sort of makes me wonder how is it going to be. Because spin, in terms of spin, they're all sorted. Keshav Maharaj, Tabriz Shamsi, add a bit of spin from Markram and Stubbs. As matlab, theek hai, more than handy options to have in your 11. But it's the pacers. Kagiso Rabada is coming off a decent IPL. Nokia, no. Kurtzia, okay, theek hai, somewhere mid. And then there's Marco Janssen, who himself went at 12.9 runs per over in the IPL. So that's that's three high variance pacers, two of whom are coming out of a torrid time in the IPL. One of whom had a mid IPL. Makes you wonder how's it going to be, because of the pace at which they bowl, they can very easily concede 60 runs in their 4 overs and you wouldn't even bat an eyelid. So, which is why it'll be very important for them. Their bowlers also come to the party, given how that top 3 is performing. So, for example, we spoke about how Sri Lanka's batting lacks intent. They can still make up for it because they have that X factor in their bowling. अगर वो एक par total तक कैसे भी करके पहुंचा दे, their bowlers have it in them to be able to defend it. Can the same be said about South Africa? Not sure, because if their top order doesn't fire often enough, then their bowlers will be under that much more pressure. Sure, their middle order can make up for it and go one up, but even then, yeah, Avnish.
Akshay, just coming to you, can you probably second guess their 11 right now? I know we've showcased their 15. Where will Ryan Rickelton fit in, for example, and what do you have penned down as their 11?
I don't see Rickelton starting for them. It's going to be Quinton de Kock and Riza Hendricks to open. Aiden Markram at number 3. Number 4, 5, 6 pick themselves. That's going to be Klaasen, Miller and Stubbs. In any order as they deem fit, left, right, agar kuch fit karna hai to. So till number 6, that's sorted. Number 7, I see Marco Janssen coming in. He's improved his batting abilities in the T20 format. We've seen that in the SA20 as well, in both the seasons of SA20. Number 8, I have Kurtzia, because I personally do like his batting abilities. Number 9, there is Maharaj. Number 10, there's Rabada. And number 11, there's Andrik Nokia. So, yeah, their 11 is pretty much sorted. That means they have a fairly settled 11. I don't see a lot of hiccups or a lot of selection conundrums.
That's a 3-2. That's a 3-2 in terms of combination of spin and pace. Shamsi and Maharaj start for you.
3 pacers, 3 frontline pacers, 2 spinners. Then there's Markram, Stubbs to boot.
Okay, fair enough. Jeet, coming on to the Proteas with you then, because I'm not going to ask you the silly question of, why did they all miss out and stuff like that. But to this lot, who showed a lot of promise and pedigree in that 2023 World Cup, ODI, albeit different format, similar names, and they did pretty much give everyone a shot and actually made the semi-finals. So can they actually go top 4, top 2, dare I say win it?
Top 4, I would say there are high chances. I know they always flatter to deceive. I would say every tournament they start as a favorite, so you think that okay, they've got the best squad this time around to go all the way, but they don't. They never do, sadly. So this time they do. The problem is again the form factor. The form factor is a bit of an issue coming into the World Cup. So they had a bilateral series against West Indies just a few days ago, and West Indies won it. But people are saying, okay, it was not a full-strength South Africa squad that they were, fielding. But at the end of the day, the West Indies also didn't have full-strength squad either that they were playing. So they really struggled. The problem is not only the batting department, but also the bowling department. Like Akshay mentioned about the pacers in the IPL, how they struggled, whether it's Marco Janssen or Gerard Kurtzia, Andrik Nokia, they struggled as well. It's going to be a huge challenge. I would be so inclined to fit in O'Neill Bartman, but sadly, it's very, very hard to do that given the kind of balance they've got. So they would probably go for Marco Janssen because they need that added batting option as well. So, and the left arm option as well, of course. So what I was really surprised in the bilateral series against the West Indies was that Tabriz Shamsi didn't get a single game. They went for Kabayomsi Peter for 2 of the games, which is very surprising because he's not even in the squad. So that really didn't make sense at the. But again, the point is the top order. QDK is struggling to form. Reza Hendricks had a great series against the West Indies, but Aiden Markram is struggling as well. Klaasen has been blowing hot and cold as well. So it's probably David Miller down the order. Tristan Stubbs being really, really well in form as well. So they somehow have to come together as a group to start firing on all cylinders. And they are again a capable lot at the end of the day. What is going to be really interesting is that the pace attack has got raw firepower. All are 140 plus, I would say. And they're going to enjoy these conditions. Whether it's the US or the West Indies, that extra pace, that extra bounce is something that they will be able to extract out of it. And they will cause a lot of problem, I believe. But top four, I do see high chances of them at least making it this time around. Whether they go on to win it or not is a different question altogether.
Pramod, let me ask you this. When the World Cup draw was done, do you think South Africa and Proteas fans would have been chomping at the bits of the TV and been like, oh, dude, that's a great group, even though many people are actually perceiving it as a group of death, like I alluded to at the top of the show? Would it surprise you if they just go slam bang in the group stage and get 4 wins on the trot and really silence all of this talk and be like, oh, yeah, there's a potential banana skin here, potential banana skin there?
Yeah, when I saw the group, my first reaction was they're playing Netherlands again. I was very happy about that. So, other than that, yeah, I mean, the one thing that I'm really excited to seeing South Africa is probably Reza Hendricks getting a longer run. I think last 2 years, 3 years, I think Temba Bauma was certainly blocking his place in the team. I think Hendricks had a good 2022, 2023, and he started out 2024 also quite well, averaging well over 40, 45, striking at 160, 170 odd. So I'm sure he'll get a longer run in this in the T20 in this edition of the World Cup. Other than that, there was one comment that caught my eye, that was considering Bartman playing above Nokia. I think it's a very good idea. I think Bartman over the years has proved himself to be a very good, very efficient T20 bowler. Doesn't go for many runs, strikes also quite regularly. So I think that would those are the two things that I'm really looking forward to. One is definitely Hendricks being part of the squad more regularly, and to see if Bartman is even being considered or is going to be part of the 11. I'll be really excited to see the Proteas then.
Yeah, indeed. Let's see if Reza Hendricks and that story moves on the way it does, because we've seen what he did in that ODI World Cup in India, and he was just brilliant, raking up all those 50s indeed. Priyanshu Dhawan cheekily saying India versus South Africa final, boys. OG chokers versus Gen Z chokers, being absolutely naughty in the comments, but appreciate that comment, Mr. Dhawan. And Pranav Anand saying, Santosh Shurupa, yeah, I was typing the same thing, Lord, maybe it will rain and they will get to bat on a moist surface, which will turn out to, and if they're not, the important game will do that. Rain and net run rate and the ICC and the South African luck is just been shambles. But look, let's see how that really unfolds for everyone in that Group D. We're nearly done and dusted with the mega preview right now. But remember, the kind of reminder, I should say, Group C beckons, Group B, and of course Group A, which includes India and Pakistan, that we'll do. So it's all on back-to-back days. Same here, same time as well, and same place on cricket.com. So subscribe right now and like this video. Before I get the Group D predictions and wrap up proceedings right now, who's going through for you guys? I'm going to be bold and say South Africa, Nepal, lads. Let's have it. Let's fucking have it. Come on, you rhinos.
Okay, let's go. Nepal and the Netherlands.
That's not the change in beer, by the way. I know I've changed to singer, but that's honestly cricket romantic and gut feel. Okay,
yeah, let's go, Anish.
Yeah, you guys go.
Nepal and the Netherlands.
Okay.
Nepal and Netherlands, get in there.
Kelly
Love
Jeans
that.
has also gotten some of those singers and what was it, Changs. But yeah, in the realm of possibility, but even then, I'm also being a bit more hopeful here. South Africa and Netherlands. Fingers crossed. I really want to see Netherlands go through.
Yeah, I'll go with Akshay. South Africa and Netherlands for me too. Although I want to see Netherlands beating South Africa, but I don't mind.
Who cares? Order chalega na. Netherlands can beat South Africa and still both of them can.
Yeah, of course.
I'll tell you what, it'll be egg on all our faces if Sri Lanka and Bangladesh qualify and none of those three go through with regards to the Asian powerhouses being dethroned. Right, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. It's been absolutely brilliant. And yes, Pranav Anand, they always back the underdogs, unless it's RCB or United who haven't been underdogs indeed.
RCB's
But we'll leave
always
it
been
there.
the underdog, so it's fine. You're sorted.
We'll leave it there. At least you're not Bangladesh, 100%. Jeet, thank you so much for your time. Pramod and Akshay will catch you boys soon. Please subscribe if you guys are new. We are in touching distance of 85K, which will mean a lot to us. So do that and tell a friend about the mega previews. I know many of you guys are wondering, where the hell are they? They're not doing any World Cup chat and previews. We are here and we're going to be there for the next 3 days back to back. So, of course, press the bell icon and wait for our coverage 8 p.m. for the next 3 days. Until the next time, it's a goodbye from me in beautiful Phuket. I could have showed you and made you guys jealous about my background, but I'll save it for tomorrow. Pramod, fantastic with you. Good luck with another Klopp goodbye. Jeet, God bless, and whatever you've done for us in the IPL, man, that heartfelt text I sent you. So onwards and upwards to you. And Akshay, I don't know where you were, but I'm guessing liquid diet for you as well, mate.
Yeah. That's it. That's it. Thank you. Thank you. Just because Avnish, yeah, liquid diet for sure. Completely agree with you on that, but nothing. Let's move. Nothing more to be said. Yeah.
Okay, done. Cheers, lads. We'll leave it there. Please, if you guys are just joining us, go watch all the other previews that we've done, not just South Africa's, and tell us what you guys think. Thanks for watching. Goodbye and good night. Cheers.